She's gone. It is quite incredible.
One summer day in 1976, a young girl of 14 made history. In front of millions of viewers, Nadia Comaneci achieved the impossible at the Montreal Olympics. An icon was born. But Nadia lived in Romania, one of the most brutal dictatorships of the East Bloc during the Cold War between the United States and the USSR. At that time, Romania was ruled with an iron fist by Nicolae Ceausescu, at a time when sporting events were used for political propaganda. This is the story of Nadia Comaneci, the little gymnast who became a legend. Years later, she chose to tell her story with her own words and her own secrets.
Comaneci Nadia. Present.
Do you know what they say about stories? That there are always three versions: yours, mine, and the truth. This is mine. I was born in Romania on November 12, 1961, 3 months after the construction of the Berlin Wall. I was named Nadia Elena Comaneci by my father Gheorghe and my mother Stefania. We lived in Onești, a small city cradled in the foothills of the Carpathian Mountains of Romania. If you want to know me, you have to know the Romanian people, because my soul was created by their experience and by their history. I am who my people are. I'm the product of their wars, revolutions, their suffering, and their subjugation.
I was 1 year old when she was born, but I can tell you that it was the transition between a very dark decade when the Russian army was occupying Romania and Romania was destroyed as a country, where all the intelligentsia, the political people were tortured and killed in the communist gulag. The big opening didn't happen until Ceausescu actually came into power.
My memory of the history of my country begins in 1967, when I was 6 years old and Nicolae Ceausescu was named the first secretary of the Romanian Communist Party.
De piscuri înalte ale civilizației, de societatea comunistă.
When the Russians invaded Prague in 1968, he was the only head of a communist country that protested against the Russians invading Prague.
Pătrunderea trupelor celor 5 țări socialiste în Ceoslovacia constituie o mare greșeală, o primejdie.
For my family and for many Romanians, Nicolae Ceausescu symbolized a new era of hope and openness to the world.
That made the Western country think that he is this open-minded leader they could use as a bridge between West and East.
Nicolae Ceausescu Nicolae Ceausescu was a man devoted to the people. He opened Romania to the outside world. We had good industries, agriculture and construction. Our country developed.
In this landscape of open attitude, new and interesting books began to appear. Writers, painters, and in the same way, sports began to flourish. And the Nadia Comaneci syndrome was part of this landscape.
One day, a big Hungarian man with a droopy mustache showed up at my classroom and asked, "Who can do a cartwheel?" This question literally changed my life.
And two little girls lived out there. "Oh, we can do a cartwheel. Let me see it. Boo, these are the ones. Two blonde-haired little kids. That was Nadia and her little teammate, Viorica Dumitru. And golly, I said, you guys are gonna be in this afternoon. You come to the gym. And we had an opportunity at the time to go and to join a brand new school of gymnastics in Onesti. We took it. Of course, as a team, husband and wife, Marta and me, we divided the responsibilities. Marta took the artistic preparation, and particularly the beam performance, the same on the floor exercise. My responsibility was always the vault and the bars. Also, the general physical conditioning was my responsibility.
I was quiet, never smiled, and I rarely stood out from the other gymnasts.
De multe ori ne se pune întrebarea aceasta, de ce Nadia este așa de serioasă? De ce nu își manifestă cu exuberanță sentimentele? Ea este un om serios, un caracter care mai mult se interiorizează. Nadia nu este un om comunicativ, dar este simpatică și drăguță cu colegele sale și cu cei care sunt apropiați de ea.
When I stepped into the gym, I knew I wanted to fit into that world. I was overwhelmed by its size. Each mat, vault, bar and beam held endless possibilities for play.
When I met Nadia, she was down to earth, one of us. And she's very honest and modest, very modest girl.
Gymnastics was lots of fun. Bella was a great spotter. I always knew he wouldn't let me hit the ground or an apparatus. I loved working with him. I had no fear.
Cu puțină muncă nu se realizează nimic.
She worked hard for everything she did. It wasn't easy. My body was hurting so much from training so much, so hard, all the time, not giving time to recover.
I said, girls, 10 push-ups. Pop, 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 pop. Turn out, how many did she do? 20. I said, that's Nadia. That's the fighter. That's the one who's gonna be a big star.
I always wanted to do more than Bella or Marta asked of me. I liked the feeling of improving. It took months to learn the simplest skills. I would return to the gym and start all over again until I mastered each skill. I craved perfection.
Things really opened culturally. Romania exploded with talent, and our theater companies were going to international festivals in the Western countries. And then in 1971, he went to China, and that was the end. Mao showed him a human landscape that Ceausescu liked, and he came back to Romania and closed everything up.
The Romanian government used to pour money into its athletic programs because our leaders believed that athletes represented the power of the government and validated our way of life. It was a huge honor to make it onto an elite athletic team. Our schedule went 6 days a week, 4 hours each day taking classes and 4 in the gym. Each meal included specific portions of meat, vegetables and milk, so that our bodies and bones would grow stronger. Bella and Marta believed in discipline and were terribly demanding. They had trained us to be professional regardless of the level of competition. My first big gymnastics competition was the 1970 National Championships. I was 9. I came in 13th at the competition. I was frustrated, furious, humiliated, and determined never to have those kinds of mistakes plague me again.
The Soviets at that time were dominating the sport, absolutely dominating. Beautiful athletes, very well prepared, based on the strong system of performance and enhancing the performance by the very much centralized program.
It looked like, you know, we were one communist bloc, but boy, the rivalry.
So they've been considered unbeatable. Well, we didn't care about unbeatable status of the Soviets. We did care about our little bitty girls. The ones are getting closer and closer to a potential of high performance.
To me, competing meant overcoming frustration and anger. I wanted to push myself and to be better than anybody else. My first success came at the 1972 Friendship Cup. I won the all-around gold. Our team's gymnasts were only 10 years old. All the gymnasts from the other countries were in their late teens and early 20s. We performed skills never before seen in gymnasts so young.
People would say, Bella is coming with this kindergarten of gymnasts. This is ridiculous. What they gonna do on the big scene?
Je proclame l'ouverture des Jeux olympiques de 1976, célébrant la 21e Olympiade de l'ère moderne.
When I arrived in Montreal, I was flabbergasted. The Olympic Village blew my mind. Its size, and above all else, athletes in more sports than I had ever heard of. What I remember most was that everything was free. I saw for the first time in my life pizza, cottage cheese, peanut butter. To me, it was so high-tech, so strange and exciting and absolutely wonderful.
Everybody was excited. This Olympic game is going on. Unfortunately, the media did not pay almost zero attention to the Romanian team.
Ici pour débuter une démonstration très acrobatique.
The media is kind of directing the attention of the public and the judges. And that exactly happened in Montreal. Arriving the Soviet Union, the great Soviet team, they got every attention.
The fight was between the Soviets and the Romanians and nobody else.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Everyone expected great things from Olga Korbut and Lyudmila Turisheva, the Soviet gymnasts who were my idols. We were from a tiny country no one could even find on the map.
The Romanian team unnoticed, absolutely at all. We've been doing our regular workout. But, you know, the frustration in my heart just accumulated day after day. I said, it's gonna come our time.
The hardest time is always the waiting. But once the competition begins, the fear is gone.
Performance.
And everybody's mind was focusing to a major performance, very well controlled, very well executed. The start was great. We started at a very high score, and we just escalated that score. I was already up on 9 nines, which was a very, very high score. And finally, Nadia is coming out uneven bar, her famous uneven bar routine.
impeccable.
Finally, the scoreboard is coming up, and there is a big 1.0. 1.0.
And we were like, I can't tell you. We thought it was a mistake.
So I'm heading toward the jury table. In the meantime, Nadia is coming down. Ladies and gentlemen, first time in the history of sport, unprecedented, a perfect 10!
10, a treia notă de 10 la paralele pentru Nadia Comaneci. Fantastic, fără precedent.
It was... Oh my God. For that country that didn't have that much joy, that was a very memorable moment. What was there for us to be happy about? Not that much.
Nadia Comaneci. The Olympic champion steps up and a real smile. She's got it again. An extraordinarily composed young lady of 14.
In the end, I won 7 perfect 10s and 5 Olympic medals. 3 were gold. No one knows when he or she is about to make history. There is no warning and no instruction manual on how to handle the moment. Suddenly, I was world famous. When our plane landed, how could I have been prepared for what lay ahead? I wasn't prepared to see thousands of Romanians cheering for me. I was overwhelmed. It was scary. All those years when nobody cared, and now suddenly everyone was pushing, pulling, and trying to touch me. We were taken to an award ceremony, and Ceausescu personally gave out Romanian government awards to the Carolis and to the gymnasts.
Scumpe tovarășe Nicolae Ceaușescu, sunt foarte emoționată, pentru că nicio medalie și niciun titlu din lume nu valorează cât distincția pe care ți-o acordă țara ta. Din mâna celui mai iubit fiu al României, părintele îndrăgit al tineretului patriei noastre, dumneavoastră tovarășe Nicolae Ceaușescu.
Ceausescu and his wife welcomed her. They met her and she received a medal, Hero of Socialist Work, the highest decoration. It was an obvious Romanian manifestation of indisputable greatness. And by transfer, we also thought that we were part of the same gifted people able to produce such genius. Nadia Comaneci had become more important than Ceausescu.
Suddenly, I was considered a national treasure because I made my government's rule and way of life look good. The state officials were determined to protect that at all costs.
It was the first time in international gymnastics that we were among the best teams, along with Russia and America. And Romania was one of the first 3.
Și România eram pe locul între primele 3.
I came, performed, and made my country proud. I felt a sense of accomplishment. But I left the arena via a bus, not a limousine. What changed for me? Nothing changed. My father still didn't have a car. My mother was still a homemaker. I received a monetary award from my government, but nothing too big. After all, I lived in a communist country. Please don't assume, like everyone else does, that when I won the 1976 Olympics, I became a wealthy girl. Where were the fairy tale endings, the mansions, and the money? Where were my dinners at Ceausescu's palace? They were nothing but fantasies. I went back to training. There was no time to rest on my laurels. Gymnastics was not a game for me, not if I wanted to succeed and be the best in the world. Bella was not the kind of guy who would tell me that I was perfect. It was always about the next competition. Bella wanted his gymnasts to live up to their potential and to reflect his own talent. He became more strict.
How in the world I'm going to keep these kids on the straight line, not moving away from the regular line, regular discipline life? How am I going to do it? And the way I did it, I just excluded everybody. I did not let anybody come into the arena, into the gym, while we were working out.
I felt that he was overprotective and overbearing.
Pourquoi vous ne souriez pas beaucoup, Nadia?
Pentru că mă gândesc la exerciții.
Parce qu'elle pense toujours à ses exercices.
Nicolae Ceausescu was putting pressure. Now gymnastics put Romania on the map. And of course it was expected to win at any price, all the time. And we were the price to pay for all their political maneuver. We were just little girls and they were playing chess with us.
With the huge publicity what the team get, with the great honor Ceausescu was given to the team, Nadia, myself, and a few other people, obviously came a superior security measures which would secure us, secure also the country, not to fall victim of some kind of Western ideology or Western intervention.
Nadia
was used as an icon of communist perfection. This is the kind of child our state can raise. She exemplified what extremely competitive talents it can generate. She was a child of the Ceausescu era.
Era un copil al epocii Ceausescu.
I think it was difficult for Bella to face the fact that I had reached my mid-teens. I wanted to stretch my wings and grow up. I saw girls my age dating and going to the movies. I wanted those things too. My focus drifted.
I mean, when you train 8-9 hours a day, when you don't have any friends, when you do that for years and years and years, you know, all your childhood, all your teenage years, and everything gets monitored. What you say, what you do, what you eat, how you know, you feel like a puppet. You don't feel like you can be yourself.
As I grew older, I clashed with Bella's total control over my life. But I won't argue that in the early days, Bella's style worked for me and helped me to become a great gymnast.
Working out again, a delegation is coming in. Here it is, this particular guy with the leather jacket, Nicu Ceausescu. I had no idea who he is. I was coming in and, oh, these are my girls, my girls. Your girls, who you are? Who in the world you are? They said, get these fellows out. I said, get them out. I kicked out the great president of the communist youth, to Mr. Ceausescu Jr. I just did not realize at that moment that I cut my own throat.
Intelligence Service reports certify that the relation between Ms. Nadia Comaneci and her trainer, Mr. Caroli, have declined. Following repeated incidents, Ms. Comaneci has been transferred to Bucharest on the personal order of Mr. Nicuzor Ceausescu.
Surveillance was general because, as in all countries, that's what the role of the intelligence service was, to collect information and to handle the people who didn't respect the law.
From what I understood at that time, the Gymnastics Federation decided that Bella and I should have a trial separation. I was moved to Bucharest. The official reason was that the Karolis could create a new training center in the village of Deva. Bella, who says he was never told that I was being moved, was devastated. Much later, I learned that Ceausescu never liked Bella because he was of Hungarian heritage. There were rumors that Ceausescu said, "I don't want to share Nadia's fame with a couple of dirty Hungarians. We have to find new coaches for her, real Romanians." In Bucharest, my new coach was much more mellow. I played around a lot, I went to the movies and discos. I slept a lot and watched TV. It was a very sedentary life. I liked the freedom of having no schedule, but I didn't truly enjoy a life of disorganization. It made me feel slothful and uncertain.
She went through a hard time adjusting to this life with more freedom on your own, being taken away from the only thing she knew: train hard, obey. You are the national treasure now. Everything is so highly expected from you. Everybody pulls a little piece of you everywhere you go. And probably she didn't have the right support around her.
The next 6 months were a lost time for me. I gained weight due to puberty and overeating. It was hard to see my body change. My parents were having difficulties in their marriage and decided to divorce. As a result, I was filled with anxiety and sadness. Moreover, I had been promised by my government that I'd be given more freedom, but there were 3 officials outside my room watching me at all times. I hated being policed, scrutinized, and constantly watched. I was fed up.
You know, I heard that she ingested something that made her threaten her life in a serious way.
Rumors and stories evolved, and to this day, some people believe I actually attempted suicide. Yes, I was very unhappy. But no, I did not try to kill myself by drinking a bottle of bleach.
An accident, she drank something from a bottle, and it was bleach. And I would call it an attempted suicide, but I don't know anything more about it.
My gymnastics suffered from all this drama and unhappiness. I was not in physical or mental condition to compete. I was done with gymnastics, this time for real.
World Championship is coming up, and she has to perform. Ceausescu ordered that she has to perform. The Prime Minister of Romania, they came and said, "Bella, I'm advising you just like I advised you before. Take Nadia back. Do it, do it. We need her back." They told him that there is absolutely no way in 5 weeks I'm going to be able to turn that whole thing around. She was completely out of shape, out of shape. She grew a few inches, and she gained some weight. And also the physical condition was absolutely devastatingly bad.
Why didn't I just quit? Because I don't give up, ever. I don't run away from a challenge. I run toward it, because the only way to escape fear is to face it. 1978 was my year to return to reality. 5 weeks was not enough time to make up for a year without discipline. It was a tough adjustment.
You could see that something is not right with Nadia. She was not that little tomboy tumbling through the air and doing supernatural things. She was more like a human being struggling.
The bars were the worst. I simply couldn't carry any extra weight. Tough skills became almost impossible because my timing and strength were off. After the World Championships, the media said that I was done. I decided not to listen to them. We heard that Ceausescu was very disappointed with the results of the competition that we lost, and by my own performance. It's very strange to think that the leader of my country cared how I did. It's even more strange to comprehend that he believed that my abilities reflected on our system of government. I tasted humility at that competition. I recognized that it was nobody's fault but mine.
After Strasbourg, I thought in my mind, she's gonna quit. She did not. We went back to Deva. Started in the morning with running, jogging, push-up, pull-up, V-ups, hard, cruel conditioning.
Bella was true to his words. My training was torture. I was exhausted. I'd roll out of the gym. I could hardly walk.
It will be extremely inhumane. And we still had to go and move on. And of course, we were intimidated to say anything. We were in pain, you know, in severe pain all the time.
Bella pushed me hard, but he never truly knew my limits.
Nadia Comaneci, nous la retrouvons au bar asymétrique. Au bar asymétrique où à Montréal, elle avait obtenu plusieurs 10 et où à Strasbourg, elle avait laissé passer toutes ses chances de gagner le titre mondial avec une chute. Vous vous en souvenez vraisemblablement.
I wanted to prove that I could accomplish what the media and the world thought wasn't possible. I wanted to be the best again, period.
She came into the floor like a brand new, beautiful, beautiful champion. The new Nadia, long and lean and beautifully built.
Demi-tour, coupé écarté. C'est très très joli comme enchaînement. Elle a vraiment changé son programme. Et la même sortie, mais cette fois-ci par-dessus la barre intérieure.
Being a champion is about pushing yourself beyond the possible. I was transformed. I was back on top.
C'est-à-dire, ce qui étonne chez Nadia, c'est la maîtrise corporelle. Et voici la sortie, double vrille, elle a gagné.
Pas de faute, donc elle est championne d'Europe.
My relationship with Bella began to change. He started to treat me as an adult and to consult me on my own training and ideas. I wanted to be in control, but control is an illusion, especially in a communist country. I was at the peak of my performance. Meanwhile, people in Romania were literally starving.
The life in Romania deteriorated a lot. It was very difficult to find food. When we saw a queue, we would stand at that queue, and if it was eggs or it was meat, or whatever it was, we would stay there and grab something.
It was a tragic and difficult life for everyone. All of the good food in our country was being exported. I'd won numerous international competitions, and I still had nothing. The only special groceries I received were 2 loaves of bread from a friend who worked in a bread factory. This was a favor, but not a government favor. Getting food was extremely difficult for everybody.
Întregul popor va merge ferm sub conducerea comuniștilor spre cele mai înalte culmi de progres și civilizație.
The 1980s marked a very harsh period in the politics of Ceausescu. It was a regime of austerity and autocracy and closure. Because he wanted to pay all his debts, over $12 billion, cuts were made in the water supply, heating and electricity. We can say that Romania was the only European country where, for 10 years, the lights were turned off, both literally and figuratively.
Back then, I paid no attention to politics. The bottom line for me was that our gymnastics team was going to compete against the Russians, our strongest competitors at the Moscow Olympics. In Moscow, we walked into the mouth of a lion's den. It was the Russians' home turf. Day one of the Olympics, Bella patted us all on the back and told us we could do it. He told us we'd do great. But as it happened, I didn't do that great. Once a mistake is made, nothing worse can really happen. It's a done deal.
I think the whole nation stopped breathing because we are not used to see Nadia falling. She was our little sparkle of light in our darkness during those political times that they were so difficult for the whole nation. We were looking up to her like she was our savior.
Our whole team performed so well in the team competition, we were second to the Russians. Despite my earlier fall from the bars, I still had a chance to win the gold in the individual all-around finals.
The tension here, unbearable. A slight hesitation there. 9-9, remember? Only good enough for silver. Well, it was a fine performance. Whatever the score, it may not be enough, but it's a delight to see her back. That's the test of a true champion. And Bella Caroli congratulates her. She came through so well. She had a little step back on landing, and she had a little step on the beam. She needs 9.95 for gold. 9.9 only good enough for silver. Caroli waits. Nadia waits. And there's no way that those ladies will be hurried. They certainly haven't hurried all night. With that, the gold goes to Yelena Davidova. And sad though it is, that is a proper result.
The media always likes to play up rivalries and create heroes. I won a gold medal for the floor, and our team as a whole performed well. We came in second place after the Russians. People in Romania were filled with hatred for the Russians and believed that we were cheated. I've heard Bella got into a lot of trouble when he returned to Romania for disrupting the Moscow Olympics. He was forced to explain to the Central Committee why he had insulted our Soviet friends.
With that one, I thought they're going to arrest me and they're going to put me away. They did not pick me up. Why? I never figured out, why. Probably because we were too much known.
1 year later, in 1981, I received a phone call from the Gymnastics Federation telling me that a group of Romanian gymnasts was going to the US to do an exhibition tour. Bella and Marta would be leading the tour. The best part was riding the bus with a group of American gymnasts. We listened to their music and tried to communicate. The director of the Gymnastics Federation was also on the tour, along with several members of the Securitate secret police.
I did not understand why in the world they're sending me to United States. I did resign officially from the national team coaching, And so I had no obligation on that one either. I don't know, probably there was a setup, sending us out here, being surrounded by the secret police. Toward the end of the tour, I was accused of telling untrue stories to the Western media, blaming the system, blaming Ceausescu. He knew it by now that if we're going home, for sure, one of us is going to go jail. We knew it also that our daughter is in Romania. We knew it that they might put pressure over us through Andrea staying home. So we had a long, long talk. Toward the morning, finally we made a decision. We have to stay, we can't go back. Nadia was the only one who seen to the net and asked me, Bella, what is that? I said, I'm not going back, Nadia.
To decide the course of your life and that of your family in one night with no assurance of success is unfathomable.
After Bella and his wife defected, the rope tightened a lot. I think Nadia was under surveillance. I think they wanted to know her every move. She was too important for the regime.
My life drastically changed after the Karolis defected. I was no longer allowed to travel outside Romania. The government feared that I would defect as well. There was no one to talk to about how I was feeling. In Romania at that time, 2 out of 3 people were informants. I started to feel like a prisoner. In reality, I had always been one.
Of course, important state and party personalities were under surveillance, so their behavior would be known, especially the ones that went abroad. It was in fashion then, not only with us. That's what was going on in America and in all the countries. If you don't collect information and know the people, how can you handle them? That's life.
Nadia Comaneci, cea mai strălucită reprezentantă a școlii românești de gimnastică. Dar referindu-ne numai la performanțele olimpice, cu care dintre acestea vă mândriți mai mult? Care v-a dat cea mai mare satisfacție?
Cea mai mare bucurie a mea a fost atunci când, sărbătorindu-se sportivii care au participat la Olimpiadă, am primit din mâna președintelui țării mele, personal a tovarășului Nicolae Ceaușescu, titlul de erou al muncii socialiste și medalia de aur Seceraș Ciocanu.
At that time, I was attending university to study physical education in the hopes of finding a better future. It was there that I started frequenting the son of the president, Nicu Ceausescu, who worked in the same building. People speculated about us because we were seen together at parties, but there were always other people present, and we were never alone.
He was a womanizer, a boy born with a silver spoon. He could have anything he wanted. If Nicu wanted to have a relation with Nadia, he could have it because he was who he was. It was not probably Nadia's choice.
Nicu Ceausescu had a secret relationship with Nadia Comaneci. She was a child with no experience. He liked her. It was just an affair. He didn't want to marry her. Elena Ceausescu was against their relationship. She never accepted anyone around her son, Nicu Zor. She was born mean. Elena Ceausescu was a vampire.
People say that in the 80s, Elena Ceausescu became even more powerful than her husband and far more cruel. She supervised the Securitate secret police. No one could defy her. But luckily, I never had to confront her because there was no relationship between Nicu and me. It was just a rumor.
Nadia couldn't have a partner until she left. I don't know who would have had the courage to marry Nadia. I still think that, they were watching her.
In 1984, I was 23, and the time had come for me to take my leave of gymnastics.
Personalități ale gimnasticii internaționale mi-au făcut onoarea de a fi prezenți la manifestarea organizată cu prilejul retragerii mele din activitatea competițională. Îmi vine greu să accept că de aici înainte nu voi mai concura, nu voi mai trăi emoțiile specifice.
After my retirement, I was given a job in the Gymnastics Federation supervising young gymnasts. It was nothing special. I was like any other Romanian struggling to make a living. I earned about $100 per month. It wasn't enough to pay the heating bill. So my mother got a job as a cashier in a local supermarket.
I don't think that Romania, during that time, was treating her a lot different than somebody who was working in a factory. She was always invited in front of international personalities. She was a big token. But how much they really care about her, I doubt about it. Ceausescu did not like that she had so much attention from the international world. He did not like that.
The whole Ceausescu complex and the whole paranoia revolved around the idea that Nicolae and Elena Ceausescu had to be the only heroes, the only people to be seen constantly on TV, in the newspapers. Nobody could eclipse them. Nadia was somebody that could eclipse everybody. And maybe she didn't play the role they wanted her to play, and she was too difficult, too independent to handle. Maybe that's why she was little by little put in the box.
I was no longer a favorite of the Ceausescus, so there was no way I could get a better job. There were no opportunities for advancement unless I was a smart political player, and I wasn't. I was like everybody else. I missed the things that made me special. I was prevented from traveling. I had no intimate relationships, and I had to fight every month to have enough to eat. One day, I realized that I'd reached a dead end. We heard that everywhere else in Eastern Europe there were signs of change, but I was still behind the curtain.
We knew that the Eastern Bloc is moving. It was very difficult to conceive that communism will ever end and Ceausescu family will ever relinquish power. At one point, we thought that this will never end.
In Hungary, the Iron Curtain shows its first signs of collapse. The communist world is shocked when soldiers begin dismantling the 150-mile barbed wire fence separating Hungary from neutral Austria.
Dans les rues de Leipzig à Berlin, des centaines de milliers de manifestants réclament la fin du monopole politique du Parti communiste. En dépit d'un assouplissement des permissions de voyage à l'étranger, l'exode continue.
The demands for reform are pouring out. Free elections.
24 novembre, 14e congrès du Parti communiste, Nicolae Ceausescu est réélu à l'unanimité.
In spite of the changes all around us, Ceausescu was re-elected. There was no end to the nightmare. When I began to fantasize about defection, my mind came alive, and it seemed that almost anything was possible. Freedom was there if I was willing to risk everything to attain it. But was I? I couldn't tell my mother and father anything about my plans. If I had told them, it would have put them in danger. Adrian, my brother, knew and understood that I needed to leave Romania to find a better life. For every person who made it, I heard about countless others who did not, who were deported, jailed indefinitely, or shot in the back while running across the border. The process of defection began when I attended a party at a friend's home. Since the house was so close to the border, people monitored the neighborhood at a checkpoint. I met the other 6 people who wanted to defect, one of whom had tried to defect 3 times and failed. On my last visit to the house by the border, I failed to go back through the checkpoint. Instead, I ran forward into darkness. We were to follow the man who had previously tried to defect through 6 hours of icy terrain and across the Hungarian border. We got some last-minute advice. If you hear a noise behind you, don't run. If it's a guard, he'll shoot you for running. Try to move silently and don't talk. We reached a frozen lake. It cracked and we fell into knee-deep water. I prayed that my parents would be well and my brother would remain untouched. We didn't know we had crossed into Hungary until we saw a small plaque, clearly not a Romanian name. They put us in a car and took us to the Hungarian police department. When the police saw my identification papers, they immediately offered to let me stay in Hungary. We finally made it to Austria. I remember walking through the doors of the American embassy and telling the first person I met that I was Nadia Comaneci and I wanted asylum. "What do you want to do?" the official asked me. "I want to go to America." I was finally free.
There will always be discussions about the moment she chose to defect, to leave the country. If there was something she knew, if there was something she anticipated.
La fuite de Nadia Comaneci, peut-on dire qu'elle a bien profité du régime en place à Bucarest, que c'était une privilégiée?
C'était la vie facile pour elle. Elle avait tous les portes ouvertes.
Elle était tellement intégrée au système Ceausescu.
Le geste de Nadia Comaneci est lourd de conséquences pour le régime de Nicolas Ceausescu. Les Roumains apprendront que leur petite poupée ne pouvait plus vivre sans liberté.
What was the reason that you felt impelled finally to escape?
I wanted to have a free life.
Nadia, could you just tell us when you planned your escape? How long you've been thinking of leaving?
Long time ago. I had in my mind few years.
Were you aware of the impact this would have on the Romanian government right now?
It's not my business. Nu mă privește. It's not my business. I want to say just few words. I'm very happy because I'm here in America and I wanted from long time to come here.
Considerând aceasta,
After 1989, Nadia Comaneci made a new life for herself in the United States.
she married Olympic gold medalist Bart Connor. Since then, she has chosen not to speak about her relationship with the communist regime.
I think it's a happy ending. What do you think?